Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Hey, good evening or good morning for calling. Calling from Brisbane, if I recall correctly. Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Correct. Right.
How are
Call
you
from
today,
LA.
Manuel?
Doing great, doing great. Okay. So today is gonna be a different kind of session. I brought my guitar. I'm not pretending to play much, but I have it here just in case. But today we're gonna talk about just routine practice and basic organization. So before we start, if you're interested in what we're doing, I'm gonna leave a link in the chat. I don't know if you Juan, if you have the link there. Otherwise, I'm gonna get it in a second. But if you have it, it will be great. So we can post it. Um, but yeah,
Sure, I'll
we're
send
gonna
it in a
drop a
second.
link if you want to apply for the academy. Um, this is what we do every day. We dedicate ourselves to making you progress with your guitar skills as fast and efficiently as possible. And we're doing today's session about organization and structure because it's such a recurring topic that we we made it. It actually we have a weekly session which is done by Juan, which is called structure and accountability. Like organization and practice is such a big topic in the guitar community that it warrants us to having a weekly spot just for that. So today we're not gonna do it the same way, but we're gonna do like a little bit of discussion about how to organize your practice, how to organize your goals, and essentially how to focus better. Because there's a billion things to focus on guitar. It could be technique, it could be theory, it could be the fretboard, it could be even guitar maintenance. Like we've done videos on that. So how to not like ideally how to not fall into an infinite rabbit hole of chasing videos and different things. That's ideally the topic for today. So we're gonna discuss that and other things. So let's get started, Juan. All right. So
Sure.
is your audio okay?
Yep.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
yeah, I wanted to talk about this topic because I feel it's very, very overlooked. Like, we can easily talk about chords, about scales, about modes, genres, whatever we want to talk about, but we do not really talk about how to organize our time. And that's the first thing we could take a look or should take a look to because, I mean, yeah, we're all interested in music, but we're all people that have responsibilities, right? So we have a very limited amount of time to put into guitar. Whether you're working, retired, just a young student, we all have different amount of time to put into our practice. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. So with that in mind, I have a couple of ideas. I wanted to focus this lesson thinking of maybe some general objectives that you as students could have in order to practice guitar. Whether it's one of the main one is to focus on soloing, right? To learn scales, to learn how to improvise, to play solos from records you like. That's one approach I wanted to take. Another one, a little bit related, but has more of a chords study to it, is to learn how to play songs. At least that's how I started learning, and that helped a lot to me. So I think that approach is good as well. And the other one is maybe more theory related, like if you want to get deeper into understanding chords and scales and what's going on in the music you're playing, or maybe even writing, that's an approach we could take. I just want to make this approach very general because for each one of you, I know you'll have different goals, different objectives, different levels, different musical interests. So, yeah, it's a very big discussion. It has a lot of variation. I don't want to customize this too much, but give you kind of a general approach to that. So, does that make sense? With that in mind, if it does, let's start. So let's start with the songs approach. I think that's the most intuitive one, and I think that's the one I would recommend in case you're starting out on guitar or have maybe played for not so much. Because when you're learning songs, you're not only having a ton of fun because you're playing songs that you like, but you also develop consciously or unconsciously a lot of skills that are necessary for guitar playing all over the place, such as timing, chord changes, chord transitions, learning different chords all over the fretboard, maybe learning licks, riffs, or little melodies here and there. So those are skills that we'll need everywhere when we're playing guitar. So for that in mind, I would suggest the following. First, and this goes for all of the three approaches, first is maybe establish an objective. Try to be very realistic on your objectives, in the means that think of how many or how much time do you have a day to practice. Let's say that you have an hour and you can practice 4 or 5 days a week. I think that's a decent amount of time to put into guitar. So if you're consistent with that practice routine, maybe a good or realistic objective could be to play a song in a couple of weeks. Let's say an easy song. Maybe if you don't put it in that much time, it could take you maybe a month to learn the same song. So yeah, the baseline, I would say, is to establish a goal that's very realistic time-wise. I mean, if you're just starting playing and you're trying to learn Master of Puppets, it will definitely not take 2 weeks, right? It could take 6 months or something like that. So yeah, that's why I say be realistic with this. So with that in mind, taking into account this learning songs approach, I would say, I don't know, if you like, I don't know, pop, maybe learn a song that has 4 chords. Do you have any song in mind for that, Manuel?
I would say I don't have pop in mind pretty much ever, but anyways, I was thinking about the different skill levels. You mentioned the time constraint. Obviously, we are all busy people, right? You may be busy and more or less skilled. So those are 2 variables that you need to have in mind. So if you are having trouble with simple chord changes, like open chord changes, you don't want to make your song overly complex. Like, it's gonna take you some amount of time to learn something like Bad Moon Rising, which has 3 chords, okay? But if you're having trouble changing 3 chords, you shouldn't learn Starway to Heaven, because that one has like 17 chords and it's an 8-minute song. So you obviously, as much as you would like to learn Starway to Heaven, that may not be the best choice. And this is like the big thing. You need to kind of, or at least if you want to in the future learn one of those complex and long songs, you need to work towards that. Like maybe like starting with a 2 or 3 chord song, something like Horse with No Name, which is like a 2-chord song. Something like Creedence has a bunch of easy songs that are very approachable, and you can build towards that. But yeah, in response to you, Juan, I didn't have a pop song in mind right now. But it could be a Beatles song, for example, right? Something like
for instance, I think Let It Be could be a cool one, or Yesterday. I don't remember.
Yesterday it's a little bit more complex, maybe, but yeah.
Okay, maybe Let It Be could be a good starting point. Here I have a couple of ideas, and again, as Manuel was saying, this absolutely depends on the level you're at. So maybe if you're starting out, Horse with No Name could be a cool song to start learning. Also, maybe with a little bit more chords. This is kind of on the pop, but also rock genre. Zombie by the Cranberries. It has very, very easy chords there, open chords. And here are a couple of suggestions, depending on if you're starting out or maybe are a little bit more advanced. Yesterday from Guns N' Roses. I don't know that one, but I think it could work. I'd have to listen to it. Let me just pick my guitar.
Sweet Child of Mine is all open chords, actually.
Yep.
If you want to play the rhythm section.
Yeah, if you forget about the solos, you could start there. The solos are a whole different world. But yeah, maybe if you're just starting out, I would recommend at first just learn songs with open chords. Those are these kind of cowboy chords, which have open strings, right? This kind of chords. Learn your E, your C, all of this. For instance, for using them, Zombie is a really good song because it has E minor, I think it's C next, then G major, and D major. And it's that over and over and over. That's the whole song. So that could be a cool one to start. That's if you're starting out. Open chords, I think, work great. If you're maybe a little bit more advanced, dive into bar chords. So do you have any ideas for songs with bar chords, Manuel?
I was thinking one that I usually recommended to my students, like the more advanced ones, that they wanted to play something a little bit more challenging. There's an R.E.M. soul song called Losing My Religion. I guess S, F, D minor, and G. Which that was the entire difficulty of that song. It's in that passage because the rest of the song is like A minor and E minor. So the rest of the song is very easy. But the fact that you have 3 chords back to back really trained you into that chord transition, which leads me to the next point. Grab a song that not only you like to play and have fun with, but also targets a certain skill that you're trying to build. Right? So if you're working on strumming, like the songs that we mentioned, those are great. But if you want to work on arpeggios, you need to be looking into a different song. Like if you like fingerstyle, you may like something like Dust in the Wind. Or if you are into more power chord stuff, maybe one of the easier hard rock stuff, maybe something like AC/DC that has some basic power chord transitions and is all down picking, not too fast, would be like a good choice for a song pick. Like you have to think about the style, the speed, because speed is also a concern. If the song is too fast, like for example, you mentioned Master of Puppets, like super fast down picking, that will be definitely not great. Actually, I cannot play down pick that song. It's like incredibly hard for my right hand. So pick a song that you have fun, but it also serves as a purpose or an excuse to work into a certain technique.
Definitely, yeah. For instance, the songs we were mentioning, as Manuel was saying, were focused mostly on strumming and chords, right? Maybe, as Manuel was saying, if you're into power chords, maybe, I don't know, something from AC/DC might work. I don't know the songs.
Right,
that can work.
I would do hell yeah.
Yep. Stuff like that, yeah. Or if you're into riffs, maybe... Right? Power chords, but still melodies. So Nation Army can be a very good song to start with as well, because you can only start with single notes. So yeah, as Manuel was saying, I absolutely agree. Use songs not only as something to play, but as a learning vehicle to get somewhere, either if it's to develop your chord transitions, your finger picking, your strumming, your riff playing. Every song will help you develop a specific skill. So not only pick it because you like it, but also because you feel like you need to work on that specific skill. But again, learning songs is just very fun because it's the music you like, so you'll enjoy it nevertheless. So with that in mind, guys, is that making sense? In case there are questions or comments, please type them in the chat or raise your hand. We're always eager to answer your questions. Awesome. So yeah, in case there are no questions, let's continue. So yeah, that's one first approach that I would have in mind. And maybe also pick a song that's challenging for you. I mean, if you're already, I don't know, you have been playing for a couple of weeks or months and you're getting more comfortable with open chords, maybe start looking into bar chords. Like pick a song that you won't be able to play right away, but that you'll need to practice a lot to develop that skill. Because the more you challenge yourself, the better you'll get over time. This comes with a little disclaimer, and it's that I don't want you to get overwhelmed, because if you pick a very hard or very far away goal, it's gonna be very frustrating. So try to keep it kind of at your level. I mean, let's say that this is your level. Always try to aim a little higher, but not too high, because that will be a little bit frustrating right away. Or if you have the patience, do aim high, but take into account that it will take a little bit of time to develop something like down picking on Master of Puppets. I mean, I can't do that either, so I would need to practice that as well. But yeah, that's on the song approach. Any questions so far? Okay.
Yeah, maybe just don't get overwhelmed with too many songs at once if you don't have the time. This is again where the time component. It's super important to gauge. You like each one of you will have a different speed for learning each song, or maybe you have troubles memorizing the song and you cannot work on each part. So all of those aspects you need to think about before you jump into many songs. Even like you need to mention that even professional musicians cannot hold into like 100, 200 songs. They usually when they go on a tour, they have a very specific set list They work on those 10 or 15 songs for half a year where they're touring, and they don't change that set list because songs are hard to learn and they are hard to memorize. So with that in mind, something that could be like a long-term goal for you will be like to as a thing to work towards. You could sort of lay out a mini gig for yourself, like set up like 7 or 8 songs that you want to learn, let's say a year or 2 years from now. Hopefully not 2 years, maybe like a year, let's say. And you can work towards like, okay, in a year from now, I'm going to play this mini gig that I assembled and I just all songs back to back and just record them just for fun, and that will push you to practice and have this kind of consistent practice routine more often. A big part of why we get lazy with guitar, at least personally, is that I don't really have any pressure, right? For example, right now I don't have any gigs upcoming, so I get lazy. It's just like I get into doing other stuff, or like I get lazy with my practice and my routine. While when I have a gun in my head, I have to practice 10, 20, 25 songs for an upcoming gig. Now that puts some pressure on me into sitting down every day and practicing. So if you don't have bands or you don't attend to jam sessions, then try to set up some goal, at least for personal goal, that will motivate you and get you going faster.
Yeah, definitely. That also leads me to kind of a personal side note on that, and it's that when I started playing, as you said, I didn't have any bands or something, or at least not gigs that were constant or something like that. So I like to record myself. I just maybe set up my camera on my desk and I recorded covers and I just uploaded them to YouTube for fun. I really had fun doing that. But it's that kind of personal pressure. Like if I wanted to record myself playing the song, I needed to learn the whole song. And there were challenging parts. I mean, maybe there were solos or challenging riffs or difficult chords. So that's stuff I needed to practice before recording that and posting that, just because I wanted to have fun. That was kind of the pressure I put into myself. So I think that's a very cool maybe goal that you could have, to either record the stuff you're playing, even if it's just for you to be able to play in front of a camera, or maybe play in front of your family or friends. Like try to practice so you get really comfortable playing at least one single song, but in front of someone. I think that's a very cool goal to have as well, because we sometimes play only for ourselves. So having that external pressure might be a good motivator. Also, with what Manuel was saying on learning songs is hard, definitely. For instance, we were mentioning just a couple of songs that could be very good suggestions, but we're maybe skipping the part in which maybe songs have different structures. So you might have, I don't know, right away I can think of Wonderwall by Oasis. The 4 chords are in theory very easy, right? That's the verse, but the pre-chorus has a different chord progression. So that's something we can take into account as well. Like maybe learn a song that sounds easy but has different chords all around the different sections of the song, because you'll not only develop your strumming and chord skills, but also your memorizing skills. Or maybe if you have trouble memorizing stuff, it could be useful to write it down, like write down the progression for the verse, for the pre-chorus, for the chorus. That's extremely useful, and that's what session musicians do. Like if they have a list of 100 songs, they don't know them all. They have chord charts and they just go over the pages when playing the gigs. So yeah, those are some resources that might help. So with that in mind, let me just say, I know I'm not diving deeper into how to organize your time with this, because I feel this could be a very good starting point. So if you're just starting or have playing for just a little bit, I think not worrying too much about what to do apart from learning songs could be good. If you just focus on that, that will develop a lot of skills unconsciously. So maybe at first, just focus on that. Anything to add there, Manuel?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. I think like if you're like beginner, you're like doing your first steps with guitar, you need to get hands-on with as many songs as you can get practice done, get into the motions, get that muscle memory, those chord changes. That is better than any scale or spider walk exercise or pentatonic that you would practice. You need to play song, you need to make music. It's as simple as that. Once you get past the first hurdles of connecting chords, then you can start worrying about, well, maybe it's time to start honing on the technique and all that kind of stuff. Which we might as well start talking about now, actually.
Exactly, that's where I wanted to get to. But yeah, at first, just try to play a lot of songs. That's just fun. And as Manuel was saying, we want to make music, right? We just don't want to practice a scale up and down the fretboard for 2 hours, but we want to make music. So that's a very good starting point. Now, on the soloing approach, so let's say that you're already a little bit comfortable playing different songs, different chords. You can keep a constant strumming, you can play a song along with the recording, or you can keep the rhythm on your own. Those are skills that are necessary. Let's say that you're past that. So how would you approach starting that soloing route, Manuel?
Well, I would start with depending on the style of music again that you want to play. But I would start, if you never played single notes melodies, I would start with the pentatonic scale. That's what the base scale that will get you to play a bunch of the songs that you would like. That will get you into playing single notes. That will get you into picking technique. That will get you into proper fingering on single notes, muting. So I think, without making it too complex, learning the first box of the pentatonic scale will be like a great starting point if you've never done it before. That will give you like a nice starting point for everything that's to come. From there, you can build on. Of course, you can learn all the boxes. You can learn major the minor. You can learn the diatonic. You can learn the modes. There's an endless rabbit hole of scales to dive into. But if you're just starting out, don't try to learn too much, because that's another typical mistake. Like, if you want to, you think you need all the modes and all the scales and all the things to play. That's not really true. In fact, there are a bunch of blues and rock players that have been rocking the pentatonics, and they've made a multi-million career just on the pentatonic. Just like even like ACD, you can think about AC/DC. They build, like, how many albums do they have? Like 40 albums with just a pentatonic scale. You can do a lot with that, and it's just a lot of the value they can get with the pentatonic is a lot. So it's a nice starting point for getting into solos. Okay, now in terms of what solo to learn, we'll take a similar approach that we talked with the songs. You need to think about riffs. I would say riffs first, because solos are like way harder to tackle, I would say, in the most common scenario. But you can start looking into some single note riffs before you get into soloing. Something like, for example, if you've been working on the pentatonic, one riff that I usually recommend a lot, if you like classic rock, will be Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. It's mostly first box of the pentatonic. Just try to get through the main riff and see how you can solve this riff by walking through the pentatonic. You don't even do like any special picking, just do like slow. And just by playing one lick, you will be faced with a number of issues. Like, how do you hammer? How do you pull off? How do you time it? And all of these little things will start to appear just by trying to play one song. Okay, so maybe choose a few riffs that are single notes, and then maybe some easy solo, something like a Creedence riff, something like a Green River. I don't know why I keep falling back to CCR. I guess I really like it, but something like... There's a bunch of really, really classic rock from Creedence that you can get. Yeah, Black Dog is on a minor pentatonic, correct. I would start with minor pentatonic. From there, you can branch to other scales, but that's a great starting point. What do you think, Juan?
Yep, I just, same as you were saying, I would agree on pick a riff or a solo that's easy, that sounds easy and achievable. For instance, one that I like to teach a lot is the solo from Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer. Sounds something like... something like that. It uses that pentatonic minor position. 1. Yep, something like that. I don't remember the whole solo, but it's a very cool one. I think it's easy, but at the same time it's not easy, because it works on your bending, on your vibrato, on your picking. It has a lot of little things that are not so easy. It even has double stops, stuff like this.
Yeah, so it's fast slides. It's trickier. It's a slow blues, but it's way trickier than it looks. If you like blues, BB King is a great starting point. He's on the more easier side of blues playing compared to stuff like Stevie Ray Vaughan or John Mayer. That will be like on the harder end of the blues.
Yeah.
But something like The Thrill Is Gone by BB King, that will be a great starting point, because The Thrill Is Gone is just box one with a few bends. So I would recommend this one if you want to get into a cool melody on the B minor pentatonic in this case. Again, try to aim for something easy, something achievable. Don't start with an Amy Malmsteen song, because that's right. It's gonna take a while. What is my tone? I'm using Helix. Helix, it's a plugin. Helix Native. That's the tone.
Awesome. Yeah, so expanding a little bit on that, I would say now incorporating this practice routine, like focus on what we're saying, I would say spend half of your time. This is my personal take. Maybe this is just me, but it works for me. Spend half of the time you have available on your practice on technique. Like Manuel was saying, maybe start working on your pentatonic position 1. At first, just get used to memorizing the notes, the patterns. Focus on being able to play the sounds very cleanly. Try for your hands to be relaxed, because it's easy to maybe grip too hard or make sounds that sound like this buzzing, or maybe you have an uneven strength when picking. Those kind of stuff tend to happen. So at first, just focus on your technique on this stuff. So focus on being relaxed on your sounds,
Right.
being even on volume. Yeah, I would say spend half of your time doing that, because it will develop a very solid muscle memory. So over time, you won't have to think about how to play the notes, because your hands get there automatically. I always like to use an analogy, and it's that we as musicians are like athletes. So we need to go to the gym to work on our things that are related to our sport. Let's say that we're a soccer player. So we need to work on our stability, our core exercises. We need to work on our leg extensions. But all of this stuff, although useful because we need to be strong and in a good condition to be able to play, this is only useful when we go into the match and play, right? So on the second half of your practice, I would say put the stuff you're practicing technique-wise in context. So for instance, if you're working on that A minor pentatonic, on the second part, learn Black Duck or learn The Thrill Is Gone. Like learn something that incorporates that stuff into your playing. Or maybe if you're into improvising, pick up a YouTube backing track and start playing around with the notes you just learned. This is maybe a very quick exercise I would suggest you to if you want to start to get into soloing, and it's try to play the notes of the pentatonic, maybe up or down, but stop like randomly. You decide where to stop. That on its own will be a musical phrase. So maybe play around with doing phrases just moving up and down on the scale, but try not to play the whole thing, but just stop anywhere. And another one I would suggest you is try to maybe kind of zigzag all around the scale. I mean, if you're going down, randomly decide to go up. Randomly change directions, right? That could be a very fun way of exploring that position without making it sound just like you're playing this stuff up and down. So those are two things I would suggest to you if you want to get into improvising. And again, I feel learning songs or learning solos and playing them from records that you like will teach you a lot of stuff. So don't overlook that. That song practice component is extremely important, so you keep on learning and developing new skills. So with that in mind, guys, is that making sense? Let me see a couple of messages on the chat. Colin says that's happened to me all of a sudden. I went to clean sounding chords to some being dull or not clear. Yeah, that's because maybe your fingers are too far away from the fret. I mean, the fret is this metallic bar on the fretboard, right? So if you're over here, it will sound buzzing or muted. If you go a little bit right behind it, it sounds very clean. So when practicing technique, focus on that finger placement like this.
Yeah.
And that goes for melodies, riffs, scales, chords as well. Maybe if you're playing chords, if my fingers are too far away, it's not clean. if I move them like closer to the fret, it's clean now. So yeah, maybe focus on your technique at first and then into applying this in context.
Right.
Awesome.
And Colin is mentioning that trying to rush, well, that's if you're just starting out, try to build good habits. Don't cut any corners because that just doesn't work. You will develop a bad technique, and then you have to correct it. And correcting all habits is one of the hardest things to do as a musician because it's all muscle memory. It gets ingrained into your hands and your brain, and then walking backwards and then rebuilding your technique is something that I've done it in the past, so I know firsthand that it's really annoying to do. So try from the get-go, like Juan just said. Like, put your finger on the right place, and make sure that, let's say you have 1 hour, Juan suggested 50-50, that's a great starting point. So if you're going to do 30 minutes of technique, make those 30 minutes worth and count every second of it, right? So not just play around for 30 minutes without really having a good technique and good placement of your fingers, good, like make sure you're not like having bad volume or like uneven picking or you're buzzing. Like if your practice sounds like this, then it's not really worth it. Don't even, like, you should be achieving the cleanest tone possible, even if it's a slower speed. Speed will come with time. And being mainly a shredder, I can tell you that it's imperative to have clean technique and good technique. You cannot play fast if the synchronization is not there, if the cleanliness of the notes is not there. Okay, so even it doesn't matter if you want to be a shredder or not, you need to develop this kind of synchronization between the two hands and a clean tone in order to get there. So make those 30 minutes or whatever time you invest on technique, make it really count, because that will be the foundation of everything that comes after that.
Definitely. So before moving on, I just wanted to remind you guys, in case you're interested into or learning more about how to structure your practice routine and also tailor your objectives to a very personalized program, please consider joining the Academy. I just left you the link over here in the chat for you to apply if you feel like this is something that could work for your guitar journey. We will be very happy to talk with you and see if it's the right fit for you or not. No strings attached if you just apply and talk with us. And yeah, over here in the Academy, one of the first things we do with you guys is to schedule a kickoff call where we establish your objectives, see the current level you're at, and with that in mind, we make a very custom program for you guys, and we not only design that but are constantly following up on you. Like, we have like weekly checkups just to see that you're still on track with your objectives, you're not getting too off the sides. I mean, it's not on a bad way of pressuring you, but just in a good way of making sure that you're using your time effectively in our learning with us. So again, if that's something you feel like could work for you, please consider applying to the Academy. The link is right there on the chat. So with that in mind, let's continue. Do you have any other ideas for this approach on soloing, Manuel? Maybe on scales or something like that?
Well, yeah, of course, depending on the styles or the music that you would like to play, you're gonna spend more or less time on a given scale. I mean, if you, again, coming from my style of music, if you're gonna be a metal player, then you're gonna spend sometimes with the diatonic, maybe even some modes down the road. But if you're a blues player, you don't really need to worry about the Frisian mode, right? So you gotta wait which thing are you gonna put your time on, and then also which songs are the best to apply those things on. Okay, so for example, if you are a melodic blues player, you may want to dive into Gary Moore a little bit, maybe some. Right, so the way I like to look at that is like, what kind of music would I like to play reasonably? Okay, right? And I pick a song and I try to see what the tools required are for that song. For this song is a mixture of pentatonic and minor scale. Okay? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to work on those on my 30 minutes, let's call it 30 minutes, on my technique half of the day. I'm gonna work on my boxes, I'm gonna work on my technique, and then on the song, the practical side of things, I'm gonna try to actually learn the lick with the tools that I learned from my practice routine. That will be the approach I would recommend.
Definitely, definitely. And in case you guys are interested into shredding and technique and being fast and stuff like that, there's a course over here on Guitar Zone Free, which is called Warm Up Routine. So Steve has a lot of exercises for you to warm up again in case you want to dive deeper into your technique. For now, we just talked on one single scale, but I mean, we can develop this infinitely. So there are some exercises over there for you to apply with different picking patterns or different techniques such as legato as well. So maybe if you're into that kind of stuff, check that out. And also, I'm gonna leave you the recording from one of these classes we did recently, and it's on a concept called sequences. I was just looking for that link, so let me just send it real quick. Sequences. So I wanted to share this with you guys because I feel that could be a very cool twist that you could add to your scales. Not to practice them all of the time like this, up and down, but maybe doing different patterns to them. For instance, I don't know, as Manuel was saying, maybe if you learn the diatonic scale, you'll have more notes, right? It will sound like this. And so on. But again, not to play the whole thing like this all of the time. You could do patterns to that or sequences, such as, which make it more musical. That's a sequence of 3 notes. I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Or maybe 4 notes. Those 2 sequences of 3 and 4 notes are very used in metal and in rock as well. If you play this faster, it's metal right away. Right? So kind of stuff you could want to develop if you're interested in these genres. Maybe check that out. Check that recording on the class on sequences. So that's just something I wanted to add. And also, here's another tip I would have in case you're interested into soloing. Learn licks from artists you like or from genres you like. Actually, over here on the classroom as well, we do have a course on rock licks. I just noticed that. So that could be a very fun way of learning new stuff without having to learn a new solo. Let me just type that here in the chat. It's called 3 Killer Rock Licks. Now,
one thing to note about all the... Oh, sorry. I wanted to make a comment on the
Sure.
because this is such a big problem that I would like to mention it. Like, you have like 10 or 15 different bits of materials on the classroom. Don't try to do all the 15 of them at once. Pick one of them and really go deep and slow and really analyze every lick and everything you learn. It's not about checking the boxes. It's not about reading all the things. Just let's say, okay, this month I'm going to really focus on my pentatonics or on my sequences, whatever the topic is. So if you're working on your sequences, then start working on your patterns. See, okay, patterns of 3. How many ways I can play patterns of 3? Okay, I'm going to play patterns of 3 on one box, and then the other box, and then the other box. And then I'm going to look for songs or solos with patterns. Okay, I'm going to improvise with patterns. Really put that knowledge to use. That is the only way that you're really going to make use of that, putting it into practice, right? So make sure you devote enough time to that thing and you put it into practice in order to really make it your own. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a little bit of everything, but not really anything real to work with. And you're going to end up with a bunch of like incomplete ideas, which is like, if one, you may agree with this, but this is one of the main frustrations on the modern era of guitar, when everyone learns from different bits of YouTube shorts and videos. Just a bunch of disconnected ideas. So really try to get into one of those topics and really learn it.
Definitely, yeah. I'm just throwing in these suggestions on the chat in case you're interested into that specific skill or topic. But it's not for you guys to check all of them at once because, as Manuel was saying, that's going to be very overwhelming and frustrating. And especially if you're a little bit constrained on time, if you don't have a lot of time and just binge watch a lot of videos and don't really interiorize that knowledge, it's going to be overwhelming right away and you'll feel like there's no progress. So, yeah, just pick one material or one concept to dive deeper into for at least I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks or a month, so you really develop that skill and interiorize that. Actually, in that sequence class I say kind of the same, but especially on sequences because I learned a little bit of stuff on that from a book I bought. So the first chapter It's called just introduction. It says like a couple of general things and guidelines to take into account. And like the last thing it says before starting to study sequences is pick 1 or 2 sequences and study that for months, so you really interiorize that and are able to use that. So I took that personally, I took that very literal, and I didn't advance on the book because I went into studying just 1 sequence. But man, I did learn that sequence all over the place. I learned this one. 4 notes on the pentatonic. So my solos have this stuff all over the place.
I got into a rabbit hole of pentatonics with 5. I'm a big Gary Johnson fan, so he's like... I spent like... I'm still working on that. It's super fun.
Yeah, and it's...
And then it's just... The cool thing about this, it just appears on your impros after that, after a while. It's like, oh, I did a pattern, and you didn't even think about it. It's just in your fingers after a while.
Exactly. So it comes down to repetition. Just by repeating and practicing the same thing over and over and over and over again, you'll be able to start to master it. I mean, it's a never-ending journey, but the more you repeat something, the more interiorized you'll get with that. Now, coming back to what I was going to say originally, something that I would add to this soloing approach to wrap this up is learn licks from artists or records or genres that you like. And not only learn the licks, but as we just said, incorporate that into your soloing. So, for instance, just giving a quick example. On jazz, there's kind of a meme, which is called the lick, which is something called... So it sounds like that. So maybe that's a lick I could apply into my improvs. I don't know. Right? I used that lick twice in my solo. So that's a very fun way of adding vocabulary to your improvisations. To learn stuff from what you like and to bring that here. It could be a specific lick. It could be a sequence, for example. Slash uses stuff like that. So, or... well, that solo has a sequence. I talked about that in that sequences lesson. But yeah, pick something from the musicians that you like. I think licks is just a very cool resource because they're very short bits of information, right? That you can practice on a single session. Maybe pick just 1 lick for that practice session, but really try to be able to play it very easily and try to incorporate that in your solos. So, with that in mind, guys, is that making sense? Any questions so far, or are we good? Mark says, do you know the lick in the solo from 5 to 1 by the Doors? Not really. I haven't checked that out. It was copied from Kiss in 75, and then the song Alive by Pearl Jam, minor pentatonic. Alive. I know that one.
I don't remember that from the top of my head.
Yeah, like... maybe that? I don't know, could be that. But yeah, maybe incorporating licks could be a very cool idea. So yeah, with that in mind, if there are no questions on this approach. Oh, in the solo? No, I don't remember the solo. We'd have to check it out, but that's a cool fact we could explore later. So thank you for sharing, Mark. But yeah, with that in mind, I just wanted to wrap up this session on this theory approach, right? That's assuming you want to get deeper and deeper into the stuff you're playing and you want to really understand what's going on, because that just gives you more ideas or just more resources to play around and do more creative stuff, or at least that's my take. So with that in mind, I would say maybe split your practice into 3 parts. So keep working on your technique. That's something you could or you should never leave apart, because otherwise you'll start to play a little bit sloppy, and we don't really want that. So keep working on your technique, keep working on your songs, not to forget to incorporate the stuff you're studying into context, and also maybe try to, if you don't know anything about music theory, I would say start learning stuff like how to build a chord or a triad, or how to build the major or the diatonic scale. Like, just to start understanding very key concepts, such as, I don't know, intervals, such as triads, stuff
rhythm,
like that.
I would say.
Yeah.
Rhythm is super important. What is a quarter note? What is an eighth note? It's integral stuff.
Definitely.
And what I would recommend is try to find those. Don't go looking for an esoteric topic of a random topic of theory. Try to make good use of your time by picking those topics that are really going to help you. Like, for example, if you ever looking to play a song and say, okay, what the hell is a E7 sharp 9, right? That is the actual material that you want to, how to read chords, how to actually read a rhythm, how to know which kind of chord you're playing, right? So if you really know, that's the 7 sharp 9. But these and other topics are the ones that you really want to deep in. Like practical theory, essentially putting labels onto the stuff that you already know. Right? So if you're playing a melodic line, or if you're playing a sequence or whatever it is you're playing, try to put a name on that. Do you know the notes that you're playing? Do you know the rhythm that you're playing? Do you know what key are you playing? Which notes are you hitting? Like chord chasing is another huge rabbit hole that you can get into that, which theory helps a lot. So those are the things I would recommend in terms of theory. Don't go into super deep topics, but just like Juan said, intervals, rhythm, scales, chords, something, at least the very basics. What is a triad, right? Those very foundational stuff.
Yep, and expanding on that, I would say learning the notes on the fretboard is extremely important and useful. So for instance, one idea I could have is start learning the notes on just one string at a time. Maybe start on the low E. So if this is E, this will be F and G. Maybe look for graphics online. It's very easy to just find a graphic that has the notes on the fretboard. At least at first, try to learn just the natural notes, like forget about sharps or flats. That will come later down the line. But yeah, at first just learn E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And once you have learned that low E string, maybe look for a chord chart of a song you like and try to play those chords, at least just the roots. I don't know if you're playing Zombie by the Cranberries, right? A minor, C major, G major, and D. I'm gonna write that over here. So A minor, C, G, D. Maybe look for those. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Mark. That's extremely useful. A graphic like that will help a lot. So take a progression and maybe at first just play the roots if you don't know bar chords. So I'm just looking for E right here. Now C right here. Now G here and D right here. So I'm just trying to kind of link this theory knowledge I just acquired on learning notes on one string with a musical context. In this case, that's learning a song I already knew, but looking for those roots on the low E. Then maybe do the same on the A string. So here's E, here's C, here's G, and here's D, right? So with that in mind, if you already know bar chords, you'll be able to play a chord progression using bar chords different than just playing this open chord. So E minor, C major, G major, and D major, right? So I use that theory knowledge not to make something too complex out of that, but to maybe use the stuff that I already like, but add another layer to that. So that's something I would recommend. Start learning those roots on the low E and the A string, and that will help you to be able to read any chord chart with major and minor chords. Anything to add there, Manuel?
Yes, I actually wanted to say once you get the knowledge of the notes on the 6th and the 5th string, and you're really, really interested in diving deep on knowing the fretboard, a great tool will be the cage system. If you ever want to start looking or moving away from the open chords, like for example, Juan was playing a chords all the way here, up all the way up there in the fretboard. Those are very similar to the open chord positions, the open chord shapes. They're just transposed chords from the open chord positions move down the fretboard. That would be the cage system. And knowing, of course, that would be a more advanced topic. But if you are already in the theory part of the rabbit hole, let's say you're already pretty in your music learning journey. So if you already have a few songs on your belt and you can play some open chord positions and you can do some pentatonics, the cage system and the notes on the fretboard are a natural step forwards towards that. So, but you see how we're trying to lay out the whole deal of today's session. We're trying to lay out a process in time, a natural process that is increasing in difficulty, and it's not overwhelming, and it's very structured. Right? So let's say it could be 50-50, it could be you can tweak that. Doesn't have to be it. The needs are going to be different for each one of you, depending on how much time you have, how much interest you have in theory. Maybe you don't care about theory at all. That's fine. Maybe you just want to play some up chords. That's completely okay. So you need to think about what do you want to do, where do you want to go, and with that in mind, outline a few things that you want to learn. Like, you don't really want to dive into a lot of theory if you don't really care about that. So have that in mind whenever you're practicing, and you're gonna be more efficient and more successful with your guitar path.
Yeah, exactly. And as Manuel was saying, I think just tweaking the amount of time you put into a specific approach or exercise will be key. For example, if I have a gig and have to learn 15 songs, maybe song practice could be my priority, right? Instead of doing my pentatonics all over the place, I would focus on learning the structures and the chords of these songs. Maybe if I need to play a solo for a gig or a recording, I'll make soloing on that song my priority instead of learning a bunch of songs which I don't have to record. So yeah, tweak the amount of time you put into your practice, but at first I would suggest you an even approach. So I would start with half the practice on technique, half the practice on context. Maybe if you want to add theory, you could split it on 3 parts. Or another split I would recommend to you is, let's say that we're working an hour, just practicing an hour. So 15 minutes on technique, kind of scales up and down and metronome and this stuff. 15 minutes on theory and 30 minutes on songs, because again, that's extremely important, and that will start to help you linking that theory knowledge with the stuff you're playing. As Manuel was saying, maybe if you know, start to name the notes. E, G, G sharp, A, right? So you'll get a deeper understanding of the stuff you're playing down the line if you start to understand that theory as well. Still building calluses, definitely. Definitely. So if you haven't developed that, tweak your technique time down a little bit until your hand gets used to playing, right? So you don't hurt yourself when playing. So yeah, that's stuff we'll need to consider, like how is your body responding, how much time you have available, what's your priority right now in your practice. But those are some very general ideas we wanted to share with you guys. Again, this kind of stuff is very variable. It depends on your goals, objectives, level, interests. So it's very hard to give you like very specific advice on for each one of you. But we just wanted to give you just a general roadmap and guidelines so you can start tweaking this stuff to your own practice. So again, that leads me to, if you want to join the academy, we focus heavily on doing this kind of personalized assessment. We'll, again, see your current level, see your interests, how much time you have available to practice, and with that in mind, we'll design a very realistic and approachable roadmap so you'll be able to practice to get to those goals very effectively, so you don't really waste time when practicing, but really get there and have fun in the process. And we are constantly checking up on our students, so we're sure that you're making the progress as intended. So if you feel like that's something that could work for your process, please consider joining. I just left you the link in the chat. And yeah, that's what I have to say for now. Do you have anything to add there, Manuel?
No, I think that we covered pretty much everything. Only thing I would like to add is try to reassess your progress. So see every week, if you're working on, I don't know, pentatonics, spend a good week on that. And next week, you say, okay, did I have enough of my pentatonics? How are my pentatonics doing? My strings are still buzzing. I'm still having tempo troubles. And you can keep working on that. And always work on your weakness. Don't really spend time, like if you already know your open chord changes, don't really over practice that, because you can spend your time more efficiently than on those things you already know. Maybe work on bar chords or work on your transposition of the chords, whatever it is that you're having trouble with, always look for the weakest link. That will give you the best results.
Definitely.
With that, I think we are good to go. Do you have any final questions? Can you make lesson with showing best used programs and websites? We could do like a tool. That's not a bad idea, Juan. What do you think? We could do like like recommend websites and plugins and all the kind of tech, even from metronomes or websites with scales. That could be a nice topic for a session.
Definitely, that could be a nice one. Yeah, we'll take that into account. Maybe for this or next week, we could do a workshop on that. We'll take that into account, Ronnie. Thank you for that idea. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank you,
guys.
Ronnie, for the
Thank you
suggestion.
for joining. Yeah, I wanted to say something, but I forgot. Let's see if I remember what I was going to say. But it was related to the practice routine. Maybe this is not what I wanted to say, but it's still useful. Focus on having fun as well. Like, it's easy to fall into a rabbit hole of I need to practice and I need to do this and that. And it's easy to forget that we're making music. So that's why I started with learn songs, because that's what brought you here in the first place, right? So don't ever forget having fun. Obviously, the discipline will make it sometimes a little bit boring, or you won't feel as motivated to pick up your guitar. But try to, overall, the most amount of time, try to have fun when playing and practicing. And I just remembered the idea I had, and it was, when practicing, if you want to really, really be efficient with your time, write down the stuff that you did on your practice session. So not only maybe a quick summary on what you did, but also the stuff you'll need to work on. For instance, I was learning the X scale, and I was having trouble with learning the notes on the G string. That's something that could happen. So maybe tomorrow when I practice again, I'll focus on that scale I was doing, but mostly on that G string, so it stops being a problem. Kind of what Manuel was saying, and focus on the weaker link. Maybe write that down, because that's stuff that's easy to forget. So if you write it, you'll attack that right away. And also maybe writing stuff down could also work as an indicator of your progress. Maybe if you're developing speed, you could keep track of the tempos you're practicing. Maybe today I could play my scale at 70 BPM. I'm gonna aim for 75 tomorrow, or for 80. Okay, tomorrow I got to 80. Now let's aim for 100 until Sunday, or something like that. Like, writing your stuff down will work as a very good tracking method to just keep on track and be able to improve more effectively. So yeah, That's what I wanted to add there. And
Mark was asking a second ago, do you guys break down and analyze songs in the academy? Yes, we do. We have a specific week. We rotate topics each week. One of those weeks is song analysis. So for soloing, for blues, rock, we do song analysis.
Yeah, awesome.
Uh,
Hey, Ronnie, thank you
So yeah, guys.
for joining. Have a good night, Ronnie.
Yeah, go to sleep, buddy. It's like, Europe, right? So 1 a.m. It's like about sleeping time. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. And I had a really good time. So let's do it again. There's another session coming on Friday, pretty sure. So stay tuned for the calendar, the announcements in the group. Let's drop the link once more.
Sure.
If you want to join the academy, just in case. We do this every day, every night, Monday through Saturday. Not Sundays, because we need to sleep. We're human beings. But we do guitar. We breathe guitar. We eat guitar every day. And we're really passionate about this. So if you are passionate about guitar learning and playing guitar and making music, Academy is the best place to be. We will see you there, hopefully.
And thank you for your time, guys. See you around on the next classes. And yeah, have a good one. Okay, guys? Bye-bye. Bye, Manuel. Have a good one.
Good week, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.